Hey there, guys. So I want to thank you, as always, for taking the time to join today's live stream. Now, I do want to mention, as I usually do, my website, which is bponlinefitness.com. I will have the link for the website that you can use at the end of this live stream. Very simple, just bponlinefitness.com, and it'll take you straight to my website. You can check out a ton of information as it relates to online coaching. I am at the moment currently searching for new clients. So if you're interested in learning more about online coaching, feel free to let me know, and I will do everything I can to help you reach your goals and to give you all the tools that you need to accomplish your goal. Again, there's no pressure if you do decide to, want to learn more about online coaching. Just reach out. You can also complete a form, like a consultation form that you can complete on my website. When you go to the homepage of the website, it says join the team, and you just click on that button, and it will take you to a form that you can sign up. And after that, after you sign that form, I'll give you a contact, or I'll contact you and basically schedule a call to sort of discuss your goals and to go from there. So again, it only takes a few minutes to do that form. So definitely check it out if you're interested. Again, there's no pressure when it comes to joining online coaching. I just want to share with you what I have to offer, and if that's something you're interested in, we can go from there. So, with that being said, I do want to go ahead and talk about today's topic, which is workouts for all levels. So, again, we're going back to the discussion of talking about more of the weightlifting and the basically more of the fitness side of things versus what we've talked about before when we're talking about nutrition and things of that aspect. So I'm going to be talking about something that's pretty broad and that's going to sort of go over, touch on various different topics. It's not going to be, a singular topic. It's going to just, we're going to discuss various different things that it relates to workouts depending on your fitness level. So the topics that are going to be discussed are understanding fitness levels, goal setting and progression, workout types and their benefits, essential exercises for each level, and common mistakes to avoid. Keep in mind that with this particular stream and this presentation, this is going to encompass a lot of things. So no matter what your goal is, you will likely find something in here that is going to help give you insight on things related to, various aspects, setting your goals, how to properly progress with your workouts, workout types, so many things we're going to discuss in this stream. So keep that in mind. So understanding fitness levels. This is the first thing that we're going to sort of touch on and sort of go over. So it's important to really know where you're at. Even if you have exercised before, you may lack, certain skill set when it comes to various different exercises. So it's very important to be aware of this. This is something that I focus on a lot with clients that I onboard. Usually, before they get started, they usually do an assessment with me, and then from there, we decide on the workouts to start with. And that sort of gives me an idea of their particular fitness level, especially when we're most of the time when I'm, assessing those clients, it's mostly looking at posture, looking at the alignment of the body, the movement patterns that that person performs. There's a lot of different things to keep in mind, and that is a good indicator of that person's individual fitness level. So for a beginner just starting or getting back into exercise, this is somebody who's focusing on building consistency and learning form, proper form. And intermediate is have some exercise experience, comfortable with basic movements, focusing on increasing strength, endurance, and flexibility. And an advanced individual fitness level is somebody who's consistent and experienced, ready for more challenging workouts to maintain and further progress in fitness. So keep in mind your fitness level. That's going to help really know what to do and how to sort of go about your workouts. Because, like with anything, progression is a big thing when it comes to fitness, but it's important to make sure that you're safe with your workout routine that if you're somebody who is new and who has just started out with, whether it be weightlifting or, whether you're trying to build, maybe more cardio in your workout routine, it's best to start small if you're in that beginner level. Start with something that you can attainably do. And this is going in this next slide that we're going to discuss is going to expand sort of on that. So, goal setting. This is something I've talked about a ton in the past, but I do want to bring it back up because this is a very important thing to keep in mind. This is something that I talk about all the time. Every time I have any call with a potential client, I usually talk about goals. That's the first thing I talk about. And the reason why this is so important, why I do it so often, is because you need to know what you're clearly going after. You have to have a why on why you're trying to accomplish something. If you do not have a clear idea of accomplishing something, you're not going to be able to achieve that goal. And so goal setting is important. This is something that I had to do myself. And I don't want to go too far off the deep end talking about various different topics, but I do want to relate something to what I've done, as far as my fitness journey. There was one day, and it was at least 3 or 4 years ago, where I sat down and I wrote down, exactly what I wanted to accomplish with my fitness goals. And that was really the blueprint that sort of gave me an idea on how to reach my specific goal. And I still remember that. Like before, I really wouldn't have a clear set goal. Yes, I wanted to exercise. Yes, I wanted to, fix my nutrition and things of that nature, but I didn't really sit down and think, okay, why is this important to me? Why do I want to accomplish this? And why, you know, why is it something I want to accomplish in the general sense of the word? And once I sort of sat down and I wrote down, okay, I want to be able to stay consistent with this at least for the next 6 months. And I wrote down, the exact day when I set the time, okay, I'm going to start with my routine this time in February. It was, I remember it was the month of February, about 4 or 5 years ago, that I really sat down and I decided, okay, this is when I'm going to start. It wasn't a New Year's thing. So keep in mind that your goals don't have to be tied to a specific time of year. Don't tie down your goals to something. The New Year's thing, I think, is just overblown in a way. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. And I think that the problem that people have when it comes to goal setting is when it comes to New Year's, they get so motivated at the beginning, but then they don't have a clear goal. They don't have a clear roadmap to where they want to go, and that's why a lot of people don't accomplish their goals when it comes to New Year's. Again, like with me, I didn't start whenever I started my fitness journey. I sat down one day in February and I was like, okay, it was like snowing outside, I remember. And I just said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to try to accomplish this. And that's where you have to start. You really have to sit down and think about why this is important to you. And I know I'm kind of going off a little bit on a tangent here with this, but this is something that a lot of people really lack when it comes to trying to reach their goal is that they don't clearly define what they're trying to accomplish. So that's what I want to get across here. So what I'm going to go over here is basically the SMART goals. And again, I've talked about this before, but these are very important. This is basically 5 different points on how to clearly set a goal. So you want to be specific with your particular goal. And again, this is for anybody, no matter where you're starting in your journey. If you're somebody who's starting, even if you've been working out for a while and you have a specific goal that you want to accomplish based on where you're at now, this is something you can still do. This is goal setting can be happen at any time. So keep that in mind. So the first point is setting a specific goal, being clear and focused goals like running a 5K in 6 weeks or bench press my body weight. That's giving you a specific goal that you're trying to accomplish. And measurable, this is the to quantify your goals so you can track progress. Being measurable is basically being able to sort of see your progression of your workouts, weekly improvements of the weight lifted, tracking those workouts, time or reps. You want to have a goal that's measurable, something that you can measure. If you're having something too broad, you're not going to be able to measure it properly. Achievable is goals should be challenging but realistic based on your current fitness level. So you want to start with the basics. You want to start with something that you're comfortable with achieving. The main thing is to start with a small goal. Again, that's the going back to the New Year's resolution thing. That's the big thing is people set these big goals. I want to lose this weight, but they're not clear as to why, what they're going after. They're not clear as to, is this something that you want to accomplish in a week? Is this something that you want to accomplish in a month? A certain amount of days? You know, is this something that is measurable that you can track? You got to have a clear, sort of roadmap on how to get there. And that's why I'm sort of mentioning this, is that's why a lot of people don't accomplish resolutions is because they're not clearly setting those goals. It's just a really, broad goal that doesn't really explain how you're going to get there. So I do want to thank Wayne. He just put a comment. So he said, thank you for sharing your story, Brian. It really helps to set the tone on why it's important to set goals at the beginning. I really appreciate that, Wayne. Again, this is something that I had to learn myself. When it comes to accomplishing something, especially, when it comes to weightlifting and things like that, it's really intimidating to get started. It's not easy when you're doing that starting into something new like that. It's hard. It was hard for me to really try to pinpoint my workout routine, and it took me a while. Um, like with me, I was working out 7 days a week, and that's not really what you should do. But I still had a clear goal. But over time, I sort of understand that, and then in that time frame, of course, I got certified as being a personal trainer. So I gained more knowledge on what you should and shouldn't do when it comes to your workout routine. But the thing is that I was setting a goal that was attainable. I set something that was really attainable to start out with. So going back to the goal setting, so you want to have a goal that's achievable. Goals should be challenging but realistic based on your current fitness level. Again, like for example, you want to have something like if you're trying to lose a certain amount of weight, be very clear and be realistic with getting there. Don't try to do something like 50 pounds within a month or so. Like you really want to focus on incremental goals. This is kind of the same thing like when I talk about progressive overload. You're not really going up in your weight, with like 30, 40 pounds. You're doing it incrementally. The same thing can be said for goal setting. It's about really creating these incremental goals that lead you to the larger goal that you're trying to accomplish. You want to have a goal that's relevant, something that align your goals with personal motivations such as improving energy, strength, or overall health. Have it be relevant to your current situation, something that is attainable with where you're at in your life. You want to have something that's time bound. This is another important thing. Set deadlines to create a sense of urgency and structure. Gain 5 pounds of muscle within 3 months. Um, that's a clear time bound goal. Clear, I mean, it's still in the same vein as being, a SMART goal too, because it's being specific with what you're trying to accomplish. You're giving something that's, sort of measurable. It's something that you could track progress based on. Another thing that you have to define is that goal achievable within that certain time frame. If it's not, you could say, I want to gain 5 pounds of muscle within 6 months. That's a little bit more, that gives you a little bit more of a goal that's more achievable. Relevant. Is this goal relevant to you now? Are you in a current situation right now where you can basically accomplish this goal? Do you have access to a gym? Do you work out at home? You know, there's a lot of factors to keep in mind. This is all the stuff that you need to be aware of when it comes to accomplishing that specific goal. So again, you want to have a goal that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. These are the most important things to keep in mind when it comes to getting started with any specific goal. So progression. Moving on past goals, we're going to talk about progression. And I just talked about progressive overload, which kind of is still, it's kind of basically the same point here. So, progression is the process of gradually increasing the difficulty of workouts to challenge the body, promote growth, and improve fitness levels over time. Beginners should focus primarily on foundational movements with proper form. When you're starting out, I wouldn't recommend you to just go guns blazing into doing weightlifting. I think it's important to really get adjusted to movement patterns, do a lot of body weight based movements, focus on mastering your form, looking at the body weight workouts that you do in the mirror, whether it be squats, anything like push ups, really get adjusted to those body weight movements, adjust to basic movement patterns. You could also, I would say, you could also do strength training machines, something that is restricting your range of motion where that it'll prevent injuries. That's another thing I would recommend. But what you want to focus on is primarily your foundational movements and mastering proper form. For somebody who's intermediate, you want to, of course, add moderate weights and increase the complexity of exercise from machine to free weights, things of that nature. So basically, when you're focusing on something, if you're somebody who has been into a routine at least for, I would say maybe 6, 12 months, six going on to a year, 6 months to going on a year, this would kind of be the intermediate sort of level, is the way that I would define that. So you're just adding moderate weights, gradually, increasing complexity. You're likely moving from strength training machines to more of free weights, dumbbells, barbells, maybe cable machines as well. So that's what's really defined under intermediate. Advanced would be focused on heavy lifting. This is somebody who's been in the gym for a very extended period of time. It takes a while to sort of get to this particular level. But for this, you've got heavy, weightlifting, advanced techniques. You're adding drop sets, you're adding tempo training, you have compound movements in there. And keep in mind, compound movements can sort of be in the intermediate level too. But keep in mind that when you're talking about advanced weightlifting, we're almost getting into bodybuilding. We're getting into something that's you've been working out for a very extended period of time when it comes to advanced progression. So keep that in mind. So workout tops, and this is sort of in the same sort of ballpark when we're talking about progression. Keep this in mind when you're, depending on your fitness level. So for beginners, body weight exercises and resistance bands and light dumbbells are excellent for achieving, or excuse me, enhancing control and stability without overwhelming muscles. So again, with beginners, you're just focusing on the basic movements. Resistance bands is something that I forgot to mention in that last slide, when we're talking about like the strength machines, but resistance bands are actually a really great option to add alongside body weight exercises. So again, we're focusing on stability, we're focusing on mastering movements. That's the basics of, the beginner level when it comes to fitness. If you're intermediate for this level, exercise like deadlifts, bench presses, and rows work multiple muscle groups and improve strength and coordination. So you're having a combination of maybe compound and isolation movements in intermediate. You're at that level to where you can do bench presses and rows and work multiple muscle groups. You've been, exercising for a pretty decent amount of time, so you're in that level to where you're doing more compound and isolation based movements, and you've really mastered your basic movement patterns, so you're able to go into using, any kind of, sort of free weight, things of that nature. If you're advanced, you're likely incorporating supersets, drop sets, and plyometrics to further muscle engagement and intensity. So you're adding a bunch of different factors when it comes to, an advanced individual, adding a lot of, the different training variables like supersets and drop sets. Um, Keep in mind that sometimes supersets can be integrated even with somebody that's intermediate. So it doesn't mean that if you are somebody who has already, been into exercise and you're doing supersets right now, that it's not appropriate for you. It can still be appropriate if you've been exercising for, even over a year or so. You could do supersets. That's completely fine. But what I'm trying to say here is that with advanced exercises, they're including a lot of variation. There's a lot of different variations, like when we're talking about plyometrics, drop sets. Drop sets is very much for somebody who would do bodybuilding. Not saying that nobody else could do it. You could include drop sets, but a lot of times that's an example of what somebody would do if they're, focusing on bodybuilding or, really focusing on getting more strength and muscle. So that's what advanced would be labeled as. So the benefits of various workout types. Now, we've touched a little bit on some workout types when it comes to the various levels of fitness. But what I want to discuss is these individual types and what their benefits are in particular. So, strength training, again, strength training includes anything related to whether we're talking about weightlifting, like talking about barbell, dumbbell, kettlebell, even strength machines, of course, as well as talking about cable machines. That's all going to be under the umbrella of strength training. Anything like that is labeled as strength training. So this type of training course is going to help build muscle, improve endurance, and support bone health, helping with daily activities and long-term strength. So that's the pretty much the basics of what you're going to get from strength training. Cardio, this is anything related to the treadmill, of course, and elliptical, stair stepper, rowing machine, anything like that is going to be under the umbrella of cardio. So it's going to boost heart health, increase stamina, and aid in weight management. Flexibility and mobility. These types of exercises are going to involve anything related to static stretching, dynamic stretching, using a foam roller. Resistance band could also be considered in this, as well as the super band. Anything like that is going to be under the umbrella of flexibility and mobility. So this is going to enhance range of motion, reduce injury risk, support smooth, pain-free movement. Most of the time when we're talking about flexibility and mobility, this is usually in, a warm up of your workout or a cool down of your workout. That's usually where we would include these. So flexibility and mobility, no matter what your goal is, you do need to include that in your routine. Balance and stability. So this could be various different types of workouts. It could also include weights with these types of workouts, but mostly this is any workout that may involve training the core, really like using anything like maybe we're talking about like a stability ball, maybe we're talking about a BOSU ball. That would be sort of what you would include with something that's under the umbrella of balance and stability, that type of equipment. So this is going to improve core strength and coordination, which helps in daily activities and athletic performance. Now, when it comes to balance, a lot of people do neglect this area, but it's important to really consider this no matter what your goal is, because your core, again, I've mentioned it many times, but your core is a very foundational. It helps with a lot of movements. So it's really important to strengthen that core. So I would say, even if your goal again relates to anything like weight with gaining muscle, I would still focus on improving your balance. I think balance is something that a lot of people neglect. I enjoy a lot of balance-based workouts. A lot of the balance-based workouts that I've done, I really like doing the Bosu squat. Again, that's the Bosu ball. If you've not heard of that, basically what it is it's like a stability ball, but it's cut in half. So one side is just a flat sort of surface, and the other side is basically a half of a ball. So that's basically what the Bosu ball is. But you can use it various different ways. Um, you can do push-ups with it. Again, you can do squats. There's a lot of different ways you can do Bosu ball. That could be a whole presentation in itself. But what I like to do a lot with the Bosu ball, again, we're talking about balance and stability. What I do mostly is like the dumbbell squats. I enjoy doing that. I've done push-ups with this. I've done even, like crunches. You can do crunches with the Bosu ball. There's a lot of different things, but the main aspect of using this equipment or using the Bosu ball itself is to help with stability. It's helping with your balance and things of that nature. I really like using it. And again, it's not something that a lot of people use, but I think it's very important to help with balance and stability, especially, as we age. It's another important factor to keep in mind. So definitely, consider including stability and balance in your routine, even if you're focusing on something that's with muscle gain. It's still an important aspect to keep in mind. So there's a lot of benefits that come with that. And like I said, I've used some stability based, I've done a lot of different stability based exercises and I really enjoy them. They do help with, even your normal workouts that may not, require a lot of stability. So essential exercises for each level. So before getting started with your routine, it's important to keep a few factors in mind. So consistency matters. Stick with your level, progress gradually. Again, you want to focus on form, proper technique, reducing injury risk, warm up and cool down, essential at every level for optimal performance and recovery. So no matter what you're focusing on, you really need to stick with your level where you're at right now at the moment. Progress gradually, that progressive overload, like I've discussed before. Focus on proper technique to help reduce injury risk and make sure that you warm up and do a cool down. This can also prevent injury risk, but it also helps with your performance in your workouts as well as overall recovery. So, I want to go through a little bit and dive deeper. This stream is going to be a tad longer than some of my other ones, so just sort of bear with me. Because what I wanted to do in this particular stream, and I wanted to go a little bit, a little bit beyond what I've done previously, and I want to dive deeper into these individual levels so that you have a clear idea on how these individual levels play into your specific sort of goal that you're maybe trying to accomplish, or what kind of workouts sort of in these specific levels. So again, we're going back to the beginner level. So again, this goal is about building foundational strength and endurance with low impact, accessible exercises. Some of these would include something like brisk walking, 20 to 30 minutes, improving cardiovascular health, body weight squats, 2 to 3 sets, 10 to 12 reps. This is strengthening the legs and core. Stationary cycling, 15 to 20 minutes at steady pace, easy on the joints and boosting stamina. And modified push ups, 2 to 3 sets, 8 to 10 reps, builds upper body and core strength. So that's giving you an idea on what the exercises should be when you're focusing on something that's more beginner based. Again, it's a mix of both body weight based exercises as well as some cardio. So that's what you're going to see in beginner level. For something that's intermediate, again, this is increasing intensity and helping to incorporate moderate resistance for improved strength and endurance. So this is going to include jogging or interval running, which would be 30 to 45 minutes, combined speed and endurance, lunges, 3 sets of 12 reps per leg, tones and strengthens the lower body. With lunges, you would likely include weights. That could be dumbbell, barbell. That's usually what's going to involve that. And lunges are a very intermediate exercise in and of itself. They are challenging to perform. So it's best to start with lighter weights if you do include, of course, any kind of dumbbell or barbell, weight with the lunges. Rowing machine, 20 to 30 minutes with intervals for it's a full body cardio workout. Plank variations, 3 sets, 30 to 45 seconds, and great engaging the core and improving stability. As you're seeing, there's like a gradual progression here. You're including more of interval based exercises that are, challenging a little bit of your stability, You have exercises that are focusing more on engaging most of the body, more full body based. You've got different variations, like when we're talking about plank, variations of core based workouts. That's where you're going to sort of involve in there. And again, you're gradually increasing that resistance when we're talking about intermediate level sort of exercises. Advanced, this is to maximize strength, endurance, and explosiveness with high intensity complex movements. This is going to be very intense based exercises. These types of exercises can be for somebody who is leaning maybe kind of in that intermediate, kind of advanced sort of level. You could still likely do some of these exercises, but keep in mind that these are challenging. The first thing in mind here with these, with advanced, is HIIT training, which is high intensity interval training. These are 20 to 30 minutes alternating exercises like burpees, jump squats, and mountain climbers, burns calories and builds power. I've done HIIT training before. It is a very challenging method of training, but it is very effective. If you're somebody who wants to challenge themselves, I would definitely try out HIIT training. But keep in mind that it can be fast. You're only getting a short amount of rest when you're doing this. And again, it's through intervals. So you're going through various exercises within a condensed amount of time. So that's the big thing with this. Deadlifts, 4 sets, 8 to 10 reps, strengthening legs, back, and core. Deadlifts is a very challenging exercise. And I definitely recommend this for somebody who has been exercising for an extended period of time, who has adjusted. I wouldn't recommend this for a beginner, of course, because deadlifts are a very challenging exercise. Sprint intervals, 15 to 20 minutes, improves speed and cardiovascular conditioning. Again, we're adding a little bit more intervals in there. Box jumps and plyometric exercises. Plyometrics are more of an advanced base. This is anything. If you're somebody who's an athlete, this is kind of where advanced level sort of gets into that aspect where you're focusing on really improving your speed, your agility, your quickness, things like that is what you're going to focus on when it comes to the advanced level. Again, it's a mix of strength, endurance, as well as basically, more fast movements, power-based movements. So keep that in mind with this specific level of fitness. So common mistakes to avoid when it comes to beginner workouts. Again, this is going to be a tad longer than what I usually do, but we're going to touch on these various different aspects. So one thing that you need to keep in mind when it comes to beginner workouts, make sure that you warm up. So one of the mistakes that people have is that they don't warm up, which can lead to injuries, skipping cooldowns, and prevent proper recovery. That's what's going to happen if you don't include the warm up and cool down in your workout routine. There's a lack of guidance with people who are beginner based that can lead to poor form, increasing the risk of injury, focusing on technique before adding intensity. So be sure that you're performing the exercises properly. Ask questions to somebody, whether it be a personal trainer or somebody that you know to help you with, mastering form. Excessive cardio without strength training can hinder muscle development and slow progress. Many people neglect strength training. They focus a lot of cardio when they're getting started because a lot of people associate cardio with weight loss, but that's not necessarily the case. Strength training can be very beneficial for cardio. So make sure to have a balance between those two. And expecting quick results can lead to burnout, and aim for gradual sustainable progress. So don't expect the results to happen quickly. That's another, thing that happens with beginners. Just focus on, the gradual progression and sustainable progress. So keep that in mind if you're somebody who's just getting started. For somebody who's intermediate, skipping rest days to push harder can cause overtraining, fatigue, and potential injury. This is something that's going to happen if you are somebody like me and you really enjoy exercising and you don't like rest days. You've got to have rest days. You can't push yourself. You have to have your body to rest, so it's going to prevent that fatigue, and it's also going to help prevent injury. So even though you're you're disciplined and you really, want to get there and accomplish your goal, you cannot skip rest days. That's one thing that a lot of people who are, already in the midst of, their exercise routine that they completely just try to push through, but you can't do that. Focusing solely on strength can lead to tightness and limit range of motion. Incorporate stretching and mobility. Have a mix of stretching. Even if you're focusing on muscle gain and weightlifting, incorporate a little bit of stretching in your routine as well. Sticking to the same weights or routines stalls progress. Gradually increase intensity or weight. This can happen if you're somebody who, again, you may be at a certain point to where you're lifting the weights, properly and you're lifting the weights correctly, but you're continuing to stay with those weights. You cannot stay with those same weights for an extended period of time because you will plateau. I've had that happen to me. You got to still gradually increase those weights. If you feel comfortable with the weights you're lifting and you feel like your form's been mastered enough, it's time for you to move up. So be aware of that when you're, doing your workouts. Again, it's very important because it goes into that same aspect of progressive overload. So don't get comfortable with your workouts, even though you have gotten to the point where you've built a strong routine, you still have to challenge yourself. You cannot get complacent. So failing to fuel workouts properly can limit performance and recovery. Make sure that you're getting proper nutrients. That's basically what we're talking about here. Make sure that you're getting the proper macronutrients, you're getting proper calorie intake. If you're somebody who's wanting to focus on muscle gain, you have to make sure that you are getting proper amount of protein, you're getting enough calories so that your body can repair, for muscle repair and growth. You've got to have those calories in there if you want to gain muscle. So you've got to get enough food in your system when it comes to muscle gain. Keep that in mind. So, common mistakes to avoid for somebody who's advanced, who is doing advanced based workouts, or who's in the advanced level of fitness. So, pushing too hard without planned recovery phases can cause burnout and injury, include rest and deload weeks. This is something that can still be sort of in the intermediate sort of phase two. One thing that I've not actually discussed in this stream yet is deload. So basically, what deloading is it's basically sort of a um, planned phase of recovery. So basically, what you're doing is you're helping your body to recover when you go into a deloading phase. So if for a long period of time you've really been pushing yourself for like months, 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 it's really best to sort of slow down with your progression and give your body some time to sort of recover from all of the stress that you've placed on it. So that's what deloading is. It's just a set phase of workouts where you still exercise, of course, but you're doing your progression. You're basically lowering your intensity a little bit just so your body can rest, and then you go back into your normal phase of workouts. So make sure that you're including rest, of course, rest days, as well as here and there including deloading. Pushing through pain can lead to serious injuries. Listen to your body and prioritize recovery if needed. If you have any really uncomfortable pain, make sure that you're aware of that. Using improper form to lift heavier compromises safety. Keep form a priority, especially with complex lift. Don't increase the weight. If your form is really lacking, don't go down in weight. That's one big thing that people that want to lift heavy, but the main thing you should focus on is the form. So if you're not comfortable or you feel that you're not doing the form properly, stop and go down in weight. Just make sure that your form is where it should be because it's going to help a lot more if you're activating that muscle better or activating that muscle more versus lifting it improperly and that muscle is not getting activated. So it's better to really activate the muscle properly than just trying to lift the weight heavy. So again, this can still go into sort of the intermediate level, but it's more, advanced based. Over relying on the same exercise can lead to plateaus and muscle imbalances. Mix up your routine regularly. I do this with my clients all the time. They go through various phases of workouts. And the reason being is that this not only is to mix up the routine, but it's helped to sort of challenge ourselves at the same time. It's going to prevent plateaus. It's going to prevent muscle imbalances because we're working other muscles. We're not just focusing on that same exercise that we've been focusing on for months. We're doing different exercises that are going to target various other muscles that we may not target as often. So it's important to have sort of phases in your routine. Don't rely on the same exercises every week. Change it up eh, not don't change it up all the time, but change it up if you're getting to a point to where it's like a plateau. I've had that happen where I've gotten to a plateau, and a lot of times it's because I'm doing the same thing and I'm not changing up my routine enough. Um, and again, these are different things that I've included in my routine. These are stuff that I've learned myself. Like pushing myself too hard. I've done that mistake. I've also done the mistake of not including rest days. I've done the mistake of lifting too heavy. So I've had experience with these mistakes, and these are very common mistakes that many people just neglect when it comes to a workout routine. Alrighty, so I apologize, guys. This went a little bit longer, but this was a topic that I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into. Once I started making this presentation, I was going through like the beginner and the intermediate advanced, and I just felt like it was too, like there wasn't enough information there. And that's kind of why I went a little bit further and, sort of explained each of the levels in more detail, as well as sort of the common mistakes with those particular levels, because I felt like that would be a little bit more informative too to add. So that's why this was a little bit longer than some of my normal live streams and presentations. So I apologize. But again, if you do miss this, if you're not watching it live, of course, I will have this posted to my YouTube channel. I'll archive all my live streams so you can check them out there. If you do want the link to my YouTube, feel free to reach out. I do have all of my contact information on screen. Um, if you're interested in online coaching, feel free to reach out to any of, you can go to any of these methods here, whether it be my phone, email. You can even go on the website and, of course, complete that form that I mentioned. So, thank you guys once again for taking the time to check this live stream out. I really enjoyed talking about this topic. I think it's very important. And I think it's important to, really keep these things in mind when it comes to your various, whether you're somebody who has been in weightlifting or has been exercising for an extended period of time, you're somebody who's starting. There's a lot of factors to really keep in mind when it comes to exercises that a lot of people don't really pay attention to. And like we're talking about goal setting and progression, things of that nature. It's all very important to be aware of when we're exercising or when we're building a routine. So I want to thank Wayne again. He did leave a comment saying that it was a really excellent live stream and there was a lot of useful tips and concepts. So thank you, Wayne, for that. Thank you, everybody, again, for taking the time to check this out. I will have this posted today. It will also be on my website, so you'll see it on the homepage of my website. Thank you guys once again for checking this live stream out. I do have another stream, of course, coming up next week. I'm working on building it now. It's going to be talking about sort of the balance between strength training and cardio. That's what I'm going to dive into next week. So thank you guys once again. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out here. But I will see you guys next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time on our next live stream. So thank you guys for watching.